You know, everyone is laser focused on Superman flying onto our screens in 2025. And yeah, that makes sense. It's the foundation for this whole new DCU. But what if I told you the year that will really define whether James Gunn's universe sinks or swims isn't 2025, but the year right after?
So let's really get into it, because in 2026, the DCU is going to face three massive tests. And believe me, these aren't just a couple of movies and a TV show. Nope, they are the ultimate stress tests for this entire creative vision.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about why 2026 is so incredibly important. Then we'll dive into those three big tests. We've got a new Kryptonian with Supergirl, the huge challenge of redeeming the Lanterns, and then the big Gotham gamble with Clayface.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. Why on earth would 2026 be more important than the year the Man of Steel himself kicks this whole thing off?
Look, a great Superman movie is the launchpad. It has to be. But one person, even James Gunn, can't build an entire universe alone. 2026 is the year we find out if his vision can actually be pulled off by other creators. Can other directors and writers come play in his sandbox and build something just as amazing? That's the real question.
And this right here, this is what's really at stake. It's not just about making a few good movies. It's about proving the core promise of this new DCU. Can they really give us a universe with different tones and genres? Or are we just going to get a repetitive house style over and over again? This is the gauntlet that 2026 has to run.
So let's jump into our first big test case. The movie Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
So right out of the gate with Supergirl, you can see the tension. The big fear that we're just getting a Guardians of the Galaxy clone, another fun, quippy space adventure. But the early buzz is pointing to something way different, something much darker, with people comparing it to super gritty films like Logan. This is that tonal diversity test happening right in front of us.
And let's be clear, this is not just some little spin-off. This is absolutely essential world building. It's going to dig deep into the history of Krypton, and apparently it's going to have to explain a potentially jaw-dropping twist about the House of El that we'll see in the Superman movie. That makes Supergirl's journey a totally vital part of Superman's own story.
Okay, next up, we have maybe the biggest gamble of the entire DCU, trying to redeem a hero that already spectacularly failed on the big screen. I'm talking about the HBO series Lanterns.
Now, this show has to do more than just make us forget about that disastrous 2011 movie. There's a really controversial creative choice being made here that has the hardcore fans, well, they're seriously worried.
To really get why fans are so concerned, you gotta understand who Hal Jordan is in the comics. He isn't just a Green Lantern. For decades, he has been the Green Lantern. The whole mythology, from his epic rivalry with Sinestro to universe-ending events like Blackest Night, it's all built on his back.
So, what's the big problem? Well, the show is supposedly giving us Hal Jordan, who's a 60-year-old veteran, partnered up with a rookie Jon Stewart. And for fans, that's a gigantic red flag. I mean, if he's starting out that old, how can he possibly anchor the franchise for years to come? It kind of feels like he's just being set up to be written out, which means all of his best comic storylines are completely off the table.
But there might be a really clever way out of this, a move pulled straight from the comics. See, there's this legendary story where Hal gets possessed by a fear entity called Parallax. This corruption makes him age super fast before he dies, only to be brought back to life later, restored to his prime. Could the show be playing the long game, setting up this epic fall and redemption? For worried fans, it's a theory that offers a real glimmer of hope.
And finally, we have the total wild card of 2026, a villain-centric movie that's also a super bold genre experiment, Clayface.
This is such a huge strategic move. Think about it. This film will be our very first look at the DCU's version of Gotham City. We're going to get its vibe, its atmosphere, its whole tone before we even meet this universe's Batman. This movie is the ultimate test of genre flexibility. It's not a superhero adventure, they're calling it a tragedy, a body horror film. So the question is, can audiences really accept a dark, gritty, maybe even terrifying story like this, existing in the exact same world as the bright, hopeful heroics of Superman? But let's be real. You can't set a movie in Gotham City without everyone asking one single gigantic question. Are we going to see Batman? It wouldn't have to be a big thing, a mention, a quick cameo, heck, even just a shadow on a rooftop. The possibility alone is just electric.
So, after looking at these three completely different projects, what's the final verdict on 2026? What does this all really mean for the future of the DCU?
Well, when you boil it all down, each of these 2026 releases is its own special kind of stress test. Supergirl tests tonal diversity and expanding the world. Lanterns tests if they can fix a broken property while still respecting the source material. And Clayface, that's the ultimate test of pure genre-bending flexibility. At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. 2025 proves the DCU can start, but 2026 is the year that will prove if it can actually last. If all three of these incredibly different projects land successfully, it shows that this universe has the creative juice to truly compete for the long haul. But if they flop, it might just mean the whole vision was too small to ever grow beyond its one creator. So yeah, that is the billion-dollar question hanging over this entire thing, isn't it? More than any single movie, it's the combined success or failure of these three projects that's going to tell us everything we need to know about the future of the DC universe on screen.